Hey, fight fans, thanks for joining us and welcome to The Weigh-In, the show that spotlights the latest MMA bouts and the topics surrounding the sport. I'm Dorian, Mr. MMA Hernandez, and with me as always is Nathan Tyrone.
And today we're going to bring to you UFC 191, which takes place Saturday, September 5th in Las Vegas, Nevada. They're going to the home of the fight, and we're going to start it off with Mr. MMA.
All right, and we're going to start with the first fight on the prelims. It's going to be Cassius Clay Collard versus Thiago Trator, or Trader. I'm hoping I'm not butchering your name. All right, let's start with Collard first. He's the state of Utah silver and golden gloves champion in boxing, who's also a junior Olympics champ in boxing as well. Right. Has a 14-6 with one no contest overall MMA record, but in the UFC he is 1-2, with that last loss coming in June of this year by unanimous decision to Gabriel Benitez. Trator is a jungle fight lightweight champ. Has a 19-5-2 with one no contest overall professional MMA career.
Right.
But in the UFC, he is 1-1 with that last loss coming in February of this year by TKO to Mike De La Torre.
That's right.
My way in, this is a striker versus striker fight with Collard obviously the higher striker out of the two, with a better resume. So my way in for this fight, Collard for the win.
Okay. Well, you know, Mr. MMA said all there is to say about Collard. I think that he did skip over a few things about Trator's time in jungle fight. The man's got excellent jiu-jitsu. While I think Collard would like to keep the fight standing, I do not think that's going to be on Trotter's game plan. I think his game plan is going to be taking him down. I mean, Trotter is fast, and he's got excellent grappling, but I think he got a little bit thrown to the wolves. He got a little bit thrown to the wolves after his championship, and he fought a lot of really gritty, tough fights. So he's experienced. He's been in there with some pretty experienced guys, and I think that experience and his overall skill set in terms of the jiu-jitsu a little higher than Collard's. I'm going to have to weigh in with Trotter on this one. I'm going to have to disagree with Mr. MMA and call this one for Trotter.
Nice. All right. Next is going to be in the women's bantamweight division, which is kind of surprising that this is on the prelims, but I can understand. It's going to have the number 13th ranked Jessica Batistaca Andrade.
Yes.
Or Andrade. I'm sorry.
Andrade.
Yeah. Versus Raquel Rocky Pennington. Let's start with Andrade. She's 13-4 in her overall professional MMA career, but is 4-2 in the UFC. All right, she fought Pennington in March of last year and defeated her by split decision, so it was a close fight. Her last win was in July of this year by unanimous decision over Sarah Moraes. Right. Pennington was the Ultimate Fighter Season 18 on Team Tate. Runner-up, semifinalist. She's 5-6 in her overall professional MMA career, and in the UFC is 2-2.
Right.
Her last loss was in February of this year by split decision to Holly Holm.
That's right. Yeah.
My way in, I'm gonna go with Andrade. I didn't think the first fight between them was as close as the judges scored it to be. I even watched it over just to make sure. But Pennington still looks like a one-dimensional fighter. She's basically a boxer fighting in an MMA cage. And I feel that Andrade brings a lot more to the table as a mixed martial artist and to this fight, especially having already fought Rocky before. Right. So I'm going with Andrade to get her hand raised.
Yeah, Andrade is nice, and I think that I'm leaning toward her as well. She's fast and she's accurate. She's got heavy hands for a girl her size. Or a woman her size, excuse me, fighter her size. She's kind of small, but she has really good hands. And you know, Pennington, she's got a good skill set, but I have to agree with Mr. MMA. Her primary strengths are in the standing game, though she does have great takedown D. Oddly enough, she's not that great on the ground, and so I feel she's a little slower. She's not as accurate, and she's not quite as tough. So I'm going to weigh in with Andrade as well, and I'm going to, say I agree with Mr. May.
All right. Excuse me. Next is in the men's bantamweight division. Has the number 12 ranked Francisco Cisco Rivera versus the number 8 ranked John Hands of Stone Lineker. Let's start with Rivera first. He's a WEC crossover. All right, is 11-4 with one no contest in his overall professional MMA career, but is 4-3 with one no contest in the UFC. That one no contest was a failed drug test in July of 2012 to an undisclosed stimulant.
Yeah.
But up until that failed test, it was a KO victory for Roland Delorme. Overruled it alone. I'm sorry. Rivera has won 3 of his last 5 since that one no contest.
Yeah.
With his last one coming in June of this year by TKO over Alex Caceres.
That's right.
I predicted that.
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Next is let's go with Hands of Stone Lineker. It's 25-7 in his overall professional MMA career, but is 6-2 in the UFC with 2 Fight of the Night bonuses.
Yeah.
All right. He's the first Brazilian in the flyweight division, riding a 2-fight win streak at present, with his last win in January of this year by unanimous decision over Ian McCall.
Right, yeah.
My way in, though, for this fight, I'm going to go with Rivera. Even though Lineker shows improvement every time he steps in the cage, one of his biggest problems has always been making weight. And I feel that Rivera, even though this terminology could be used loosely, is the fresher fighter of the two since he fought more recently, and obviously no injuries off that fight. So my way in, Rivera for the win.
Yeah, and Lineker is no slouch, right? Like he said, he did take care of Uncle Creepy, but comparatively, I don't think he's had. Yeah, comparatively, I do not think he's had as stiff a competition. I like Rivera. I like his heavy hands. I like the fact that he comes to bang. He's a real fighter's fighter in that respect. And you know the way he dropped Alex Caceres was pretty impressive because honestly, I didn't call that one. I didn't think that was going to happen. And so, falling short to Faber Mizugaki, he really needed a win, and he needs to really start chalking them up. And I think this is going to be another one for him. So I'm going to weigh in with Rivera also.
All right, fight fans, and now the main fight of the prelims is going to be Ross, the real deal Pearson, versus Paul, the Irish Dragon Felder in the lightweight division. Let's start with Pearson first. He's the Ultimate Fighter Season 9 winner, is 19-9 with 1 no contest in his overall professional MMA career.
That's right.
But in the UFC is 8-6 with 1 no contest, has 1 Performance of the Night bonus and 2 Fight of the Night bonuses under his belt.
That's right.
That 1 no contest was an illegal knee because he could not continue in October of 2013.
Yeah.
So let's not think that 1 no contest was because he didn't miss weight or whatever the case may be.
Right.
All right, but let's also realize too that Pearson, since his career in the UFC, has never had a win streak over 2 wins. Okay, now let's go with the Irish Dragon Felder. He is 10-1 in his overall professional MMA career, but 2-1 in the UFC with 1 Performance of the Night and 1 Fight of the Night bonuses under his belt. All right, his last loss was in July of this year by unanimous decision to the previously number 7 ranked Edson Barboza, and that fight was one of the fights that got him that Fight of the Night bonus.
That's true.
My way in, I'm gonna go with Felder. I think Pearson is waning. I think he's one of those guys that was part of the generation that's helped put the UFC on the map. But a lot of these guys from when he came in, they're starting to be on that downhill road. And as much as I would love to have faith in Pearson, I like Felder because he's definitely a more rounded fighter. Uses a lot more kicks and variation in his offense. He just needs to pull the trigger more. And I think this fight with Pearson is going to be the one that he does it.
Yeah.
So Felder for the win.
Okay. Wow. And Pearson is a journeyman. Pearson does have a roller coaster of a career in terms of wins and loses. But to be fair, we got to take into note Pearson has fought all top competition, and he's taken all comers, never backed down from a fight, not always won them all, but always shown. He's always fought his heart out in all of the fights that he's in against stiff competition.
Agreed.
Yeah. Now Felder, I like Felder. Felder has some decent wins, but I think this is a step up in competition for him. I think that if he wins, he's going to make his name off of Ross Pearson, and I just don't think that Ross Pearson is going to let that happen. I agree that Ross Pearson is on the downside of his career. He is no longer on the upsurge. He's trying to retain where he's at and not slide further because of age and wear, and I mean, it's a fighter's life. It happens to all of them, but I do believe that Ross Pearson will retain it for this fight. I do believe that Ross Pearson will come out, and I do believe that Ross Pearson will win. I'm weighing in with Ross Pearson on this one.
Nice. All right, fight fans, and now onto the main card, and what a way to start out the fight with a women's strawweight match. Has the number 7 ranked 12 gauge Paige Van Zandt versus Alex Astro Girl Chambers. Let's start with Van Zandt. She's the 2nd youngest female in the UFC, 3rd youngest overall, with a 5-1 overall professional MMA career, but 2-0 in the UFC with 1 Fight of the Night bonus. Her last one was in April of this year by unanimous decision over Felice Herrig. I lost on that prediction. I was going for Herrig. Next is Chambers. Let's start with Chambers. She's the Ultimate Fighter Season 20 for Team Pettis contestant.
That's right.
She is a 3rd Dan black belt in karate, a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, with a 4-2 overall professional MMA career,
Right.
but in the UFC is only 1-1, but has one performance of the night bonus under her belt,
That's right.
with her last win coming in May of this year by submission over Caitlin Curran.
Yeah.
But my win, I'm gonna have to go with Van Zandt.
Okay.
I feel that no matter what Van Zandt is always improving, but the way she dominates these girls in the cage,
Yeah.
it almost makes it seem
Yeah.
like she's always been in an MMA cage. And mind you, this is a girl who's coming from a dancer and was it, I forgot, dancer and kickboxing background.
Kickboxing,
So to make that meld into MMA and the beautifully how she did, not to mention her impressive performance
Easy for
like
you to
over
say.
Felice Herrig. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with 12 gauge to get her hand raised in this one.
All right. And, Van Zandt is fast, and she's accurate, and she's strong for her size because she really has a hard time cutting weight, and I don't think there's any secret about that. Whereas Chambers is a natural straw weight. Chambers is feeling comfortable, and she's awesome. And in her performance of the night over Caitlin Curran, she showed that. And I think she's got slightly better takedowns, and she's just a really, really tough competitor. I think she's being underestimated. I do not think things are going to go the way that Van Zandt wants it, and I'm going to weigh in with Astro Girl Chambers on this one. Another one against Mr. MMA. This could be my doom or my glory.
All right, and the next fight on the card is going to be in the light heavyweight division. It's going to have the number 12 ranked Jan Blachowicz versus Corey Beaston 25-8 Anderson. Let's start with Blachowicz. He is 18-4 in his overall professional MMA career, but is 1-1 in the UFC, with that last loss coming in April of this year by unanimous decision to Jimmy Manuwa.
Right.
All right, Anderson. It was the Ultimate Fighter Season 19 winner for Team Edgar. 6-1 in his overall professional MMA career, but is 1-1 in the UFC with one Fight of the Night bonus under his belt. His last loss was in April of this year by TKO to Gian Vellante, where he won that Fight of the Night bonus. But my way in for this fight, I'm going to go with Blachowicz. Okay. The fight with Vellante was a close one, but it wasn't an extreme exhibition of MMA in any way, shape, or form. I have to say, it was mainly almost a boxer's fight where Vellante's crew was screaming for the last minute and a half for him to throw an overhand right, and right when he throws it, he wobbles Anderson. So I'm gonna have to be honest with you. I'm trying to still figure out how Anderson, off of a loss, is now getting a ranked fighter.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know who was doing that little matchup there, but ultimately, I'm gonna have to go with Blachowicz to get his hand raised on this one.
I think that this is a really good matchup. I think that both of these guys are heavy-handed and come to bang. This is a card with a lot of bangers on it, and I'm going to love to watch it. I'm sure you fight fans are too. Blachowicz was a champ in another organization. It's escaped me. Excuse me, guys. It was a smaller promotion, and but he did have a notable win against Houston Alexander in that promotion. So you have that, and he is hungry and hard hitting and just a beast. And Beaston is also a beast. Anderson is a beast as well. Loves to stand, loves to bank and take an incredible amount and give an incredible amount. This is going to be just, as Mr. MMA likes to call it, a slobber knocker. But in the end of the day, I really think that the former champ and soon to be contender Blachowicz will end up with his hand in the air. So I'm going to weigh in with Blachowicz as well.
All right, and next on the card in the light heavyweight division is going to have the number 1 ranked Anthony Rumble Johnson versus the number 7th ranked Jimmy Poster Boy Manuwa.
Young boy.
Okay,
Rumble.
let's start with Johnson first. Since June of 2007 to January 2012, he went 7-4 in the cage with 2 knockout of the night bonuses and 1 fight of the night bonus. 6 of those wins were by KO or TKO, mostly competing at welterweight, folks. We're talking about 205.
Right.
This man used to compete at 170. Okay, he was released from the UFC after his loss to Vitor Belfort, which was at catchweight because he came 11 pounds over the limit.
That's right.
All right. Johnson fought on the regional scene with 3 other promotions. Won all 6 of his fights. Still dealing with weight problems. Okay. Finally found a home at the light heavyweight division. Got re-signed to the UFC in 2014, and since then has gone 3-1 in the cage with 2 performance of the night bonuses under his belt.
That's right.
His last loss was in May of this year by submission to Daniel Cormier for the light heavyweight strap. All right, now let's go with Manuwa. Manuwa's 15-1 in his overall professional MMA career, but in the UFC is 4-1 with 1 fight of the night bonus under his belt. 13 of those 15 wins, though, were by KO or TKO, 1 of them a submission. His last one was in April of this year by unanimous decision over the aforementioned Jan Blachowicz. But my way in for this fight, I'm going to go with Johnson. On paper, Manuel looks like a great fighter. His resume, but if you really closer examination of that resume will show that he's fought mediocre to has-been fighters.
Right.
Okay, and when he's put in the cage with good to elite fighters, the boy folds like a lawn chair. So ultimately, I see Rumble getting his hand raised in this fight.
Wow, yeah. Well, Rumble is fast and Rumble is accurate. Rumble's got great cardio, just like Mr. MMA said. And, Manua, and I'm shocked that Mr. MMA didn't use the term that he uses with me all the time, call him Manua instead of Manuel.
Try to be nice.
Yeah, man, I'm shocked that didn't come out for you kids. Anyway, I don't think he's quite up pugilistically, quite up to the stand-up game, quite up to the cardio, that the level of fighting that Rumble's going to bring to him. Rumble's going to bring it hard, and I don't think Manuel's going to be able to handle it, so I'm going to weigh in with Rumble as well.
All right, folks, and here comes a great co-main event.
Yes,
I'm
so excited.
It gives me almost goosebumps. All right, it's going to be in the heavyweight division. Has the number 4 ranked Andre the Pitbull Arlovsky versus the number 10th ranked Frank Mir. Okay, let's go with Arlovsky. All right, from November of 2000 to March of 2008. Arlovsky went 10-4 in the cage with 7 KO TKOs, 2 submissions. He won the heavyweight championship over Tim Sylvia, defended the belt 2 times, and then lost to Sylvia 2 times, and then was released. He fought in Affliction, Elite XC, and Strikeforce before returning to the UFC in June of last year. Since then, he has gone 3-0 in the cage with 2 TKOs, 1 performance of the night bonus, and 1 fight of the night bonus. His last one was in May of this year by TKO over Travis Brown. Mir is the 2-time UFC heavyweight champion, is 18-9 in his overall professional MMA career, but is 16-9 in the UFC, which goes to show you that most of his career was pretty much spent in the UFC, with 2 performance of the night bonuses plus 2 submission of the night bonuses, and is presently riding a 2-fight winning streak coming into this fight with Arlovsky. My win, I'm going to go with Arlovsky. This is typically a striker versus grappler match, but Arlovsky has shown such improvement in his striking since he's joined Greg Jackson and Winkle John's camp. And this is going to be kind of funny because this is like watching George St. Pierre and Carlos Condit going against each other, because it's once again 2 fighters from the same camp going against each other. And what's even funny is this is actually Arlovsky's 2nd fight going against somebody from the same camp too, because that Travis Brown fight was also one of such. Even though at that time Brown had switched to another camp. He's still a Greg Jackson student. Okay, but ultimately my way in for this fight, I'm going to go with Arlovsky. I think that he has the better striking. I think he has definitely the punching power to knock somebody out. Not that Mir doesn't, but he has more accuracy. He feels more comfortable with the striking, and as long as he doesn't get sloppy like he almost did in the Travis Brown fight, I see his hand getting raised.
Yeah, striking power, to say the least. 70% of his wins come via knockout. What I like about this matchup, this is a pretty good matchup to me, are these guys are both champions that know what the shine is, know what the light is, know what the competition is, know what the difficulty is to get up there and retain your championship, know what the heartbreak is even to lose it. And each of these fighters have been tested recently and really come off well. I've been impressed with the outcome of both of these fighters' fights recently.
Immensely.
And so, I really think that this is a good and interesting matchup. Now, Frank Mir should never, ever, ever be underestimated. The man is deadly. He's a brutal submission artist, the best in the heavyweight division,
and is now knocking people
probably
out.
One of the best in MMA without question at his weight class. And now he can knock people out. Some of the problems he has had, though, are with strikers. He has had problems with heavy strikers, and Arlovsky's going to bring it to him. Arlovsky's got a beautiful takedown defense as well. So, Big Frank Mir is going to have to be creative. Not that he can't be. I think he will be. But will that creativity be enough that have him, to pull out the win over Arlovsky? I tend to think not. I'm going to have to agree with Mr. MMA on this one and say that Arlovsky will have his hand in the air.
All right, fight fans, and now to the meat of the main card, the main event of the evening. It's going to have the champion, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, versus the number 1 ranked John the Magician Dodson for the flyweight championship.
Yeah.
All right, let's go with Johnson. He is a WEC crossover who is 21-2-1 in his overall professional MMA career, but is 10-1-1 in the UFC. One draw, if you people don't remember, was the fight for the flyweight championship against Ian McCall, where they read the scorecards wrong and announced him the victor. It was later overturned and turned into a draw because of that mistake, where they fought again, and then Demetrius won the belt. Altogether, he has one performance of the night, 2 fight of the night bonuses, 1 knockout of the night, and 1 submission of the night bonuses. That's a lot of money there, folks. Okay, and has successfully defended that belt 7 times already in the UFC. All right, John Dodson is the Ultimate Fighter Season 14 winner for Team Miller. He beat the current bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw in order to win that season. All right, he is 18-6 in his overall professional MMA career, but is 5-1 in the UFC. His 1 loss to the present champion. Okay, he also has 1 fight of the night and 2 knockout of the night bonuses under his belt. But my way in for this fight, and it was, trust me, it was hard. I'm gonna go with Johnson. I rarely ever go against a Greg Jackson fighter, and I actually kind of feel so sorry for Greg Jackson and Winklejohn that they have to train Dodson against such a dangerous opponent in Demetrius Johnson. Because I'll be honest with you, I've watched his films over and over again, and the mistakes that Demetrius makes are simple ones that any person would make just for being human. The rest of the time, this man is on top of his game, and he actually really bullied Dodson, something that I had never thought anyone would be able to do. It was almost like watching a heavyweight go against a middleweight or a welterweight, even though we were watching 2 flyweights fighting. And even though Dodson was able to rock Demetrius Johnson a couple of times in that fight, it was like just like I said, it's just simple little errors that the champion made. That's why he ate those punches. Ultimately, the rest of his game was on point. He dominated the fight. He won by unanimous decision, and I have yet to see anything to indicate, especially from Dodson's last fight, to say that Dodson will get his hand raised in this one. So I expect Demetrius Johnson to get his 8th defense and have his hand raised again.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of both of these fighters. Both of these fighters are lightning fast and have knockout power, which is something rare in their weight class. I can't say enough great things about them. I mean, really, Mighty Mouse is one of the most underrated champions in MMA. People sleep on Mighty Mouse. I've heard people say ridiculous things like the man is boring. Learn the sport, people. This guy is an expert practitioner.
It is not his fault that his opponents look
It's
lackluster.
not his fault that they look lackluster compared to him. He is just that fucking good. And so Dodson's no slouch either. I love the wins, the backflips, the high punches. I love John Dodson. Watching him is like watching a fighter who loves to fight, because that's exactly what we do as fight fans every time we watch him. He loves to fight. He loves to get in there, and he's fucking phenomenal at it. I mean, he would be champion if there were no Mighty Mouse. But unfortunately for Dodson, there is a Mighty Mouse. Unfortunately for us, there is a Mighty Mouse. And I'm going to agree with Mr. MMA, the champ, the underrated, greatest fighter in the world, will end up with his hand in the air. I'm going to weigh in with Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson on this one.
Okay, and one little tidbit about Johnson. I think one of the main reasons he is so underrated is because the man is not outspoken. He lets all his actions in the cage do his talking. So if you guys get a chance, check out our showmanship episode and weigh in and let me know if that's what you think or feel. Because honestly, that's my opinion. That's the only reason why he's underrated, because he is not as flamboyant outside of the cage as he is inside of it.
That's right.
Okay, but fight fans, make sure you tune in to us on Twitter at the Weigh In MMA. I'm always tweeting on the events. Check us out on Facebook as well. We love to hear your feedback and let us know what you think. Let us know who you guys are picking for these fights on upcoming Saturday. We love to hear from you.
Yes. Thanks again for watching the weigh-in, kids. And don't forget to follow Mr. MMA live during the fights. He tweets. He talks to the fans. He talks to the coaches. He talks to the fighters. And they all talk back to him. It's a hell of a lot of fun. He also live updates our Facebook at the Weigh-In MMA. So live tweet at the Weigh-In MMA and check us out on Facebook. And like always, we really appreciate you guys watching us. And we'll see you next time on the Weigh-In.
Yeah.